right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sage Wrestling. Got a exciting one today, man. We got two-time national champ, four-time All-American Gabe Dean. Man, I appreciate you joining me today, man. Means a lot. How you holding in there, big guy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the offer, and I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. You jumped right on it, so it was definitely appreciated. You honestly, it's been sometimes it takes a minute to get it together with certain people. You were real quick, so I definitely appreciate having such a huge name in the sport being able to jump on this platform and help us make it grow.
Well, sports done a lot for me, so I'm happy to get back to it and help out any way I can. So,
Yes, I definitely respect it and appreciate it, man. But I figure we'll start from the beginning. I know your dad was an NCAA runner-up from Minnesota. So I'm taking it. Is that kind of is Mr. David the big reason why you stepped on a mat to begin with?
um, yeah, he was he took an assistant coaching position at Michigan State, and Max and I and our sister were born in Lansing. So we just grew up, being on the college bus rides. He would bring us with him to like when they were actually wrestling, like Penn State and Indiana and Ohio State, and we just grew up running around on the mats, and the college guys were our heroes, So we just, from like the time we could walk, we grew up just right around the sport. So
Yes, sir. That's crazy though. I mean, but it is. It's like them calling. I'm 34 now, buddy, and they're still my heroes. Like, you know what I mean? You guys, I remember watching you when I got what 3, 4. You're 30 now.
I just turned 29. So
29. So
yep.
yeah, and so I have 4 or 5 years on you, and I still remember you were the greatest thing, man. Since sliced bread, it was like, man, it was awesome to watch you, bro. It was.
It's a short window in the sport, I was, I had a lot of great support system, great coaches, great training partners, and just little bits being in the right place at the right time. So I was very fortunate. It was a group effort for sure.
I could imagine. I mean, to do what you've done, I feel it would have to be just for the simple fact that like it's off the charts. Like especially like I remember watching back in the day, like all four NCAA tournaments you were a part of, and knowing like, man, Gabe's the real deal. But when you really look at the numbers that you put up, like even because a lot of times we weren't able to see the duels or the Southern Scuffle that you won 4 times, like it wasn't televised. They didn't have a lot of the stuff there or the way to get to it like it is now, and I couldn't believe it when I really dug into it. I was like, man, I just was like, maybe he just shows up for the NCAA, but it was like, no, you showed up for 4 straight years every day.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, if you would have told me that coming out of high school that I would have had the being fortunate enough to have the career that I had, I would have been shocked. I didn't expect it to go as well as it did, and I just very fortunate. So
Yeah, because like I was actually, whenever I broke it all down, because in high school, I mean, you were like a 2-star athlete. Did you have any football scholarships too, like playing quarterback, like have winning a state title, and then I believe what was it, runner up one year also?
yeah, I won one state title in wrestling my junior year in overtime. I took a guy down in overtime, and I lost my senior year in the state finals, and I lost, and I didn't place my freshman year, and I lost in the finals my sophomore year. So I won one state title in wrestling and one team state title in wrestling, and was part of a team state championship that my dad was the head coach, and then I won. We made the finals 3 times in football that I was starting at quarterback, but won one. So I won one of each, but I kind of had a bad ratio. I was like 3-8 finals in finals appearances. So, but one football, one team wrestling, and one individual wrestling. So,
But I'll tell you what, though, you were always in there. I mean, it just no matter what, like you were getting to the finals and everything that you did.
yeah, no, and I really like enjoyed my childhood was awesome. My parents were just really had a great perspective for all their kids. Just wanted them to grow up in sports because of the adversity that it provided at such a young age. So us just learning how to deal with coaches, coming down on us and things not going our way, and not we weren't big participation trophy type family, so just everything was earned, and you had to work really hard to be good. So I just think that our sports were like kind of like a life tool that we were lucky to carry on. I mean, my brother and I were lucky enough to carry on into college and find some more success there. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys definitely did. And Max he's been fun to watch too. Was there anything behind and I don't know if it's something that if you guys want to talk on it or not, but the because I mean it just seemed like you were such a huge part of Cornell, and then with Max leaving and heading to Penn State, was it just like, hey, it might just be better partners, better fit for him at this time, or like I guess it had a lot of us as fans like kind of like, I wonder what that was about, because like you
yeah,
guys were Cornell, you know what I mean?
yeah, and Cornell was great to me and to Max while he was there. From a just a wrestling program standpoint, no ill feelings or anything. Everything was really good to us, and it was more the administration. That they just it didn't align with the values that we try to live by, and not saying whether they're right or wrong, and just couldn't support something that was an administration that was taking opportunities away from kids and canceling sports after a lot of data had come out that COVID just was not very dangerous
Right.
for young people.
I th-
And understandably how it was scary, and it was scary at the beginning, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but
yes.
they canceled fall sports, which was like, okay, and then they canceled winter sports, and the Ivy League was the only conference in the United States that canceled winter sports. And I just remember sitting there watching all these guys that trained so hard, that worked so hard that year, just sitting there watching the national championships on their couches,
Yeah.
after that. But that was still, we were still going to stick through, and then they canceled spring sports, and it was like, man, and the president of the university, never got on to, she wasn't the one telling us, and she was the one making the decisions with her board, but none of them got on, to be accountable or explain why, or back their position. It was just it's almost like they didn't care. So
Absolutely.
I just hard to pour your heart and soul to a place where the leadership doesn't care. So I had at the time, started a bit a business. I got into investing into real estate while I was coaching there a little bit, and saw an opportunity. It was time for me to just go all in on that, and then Max wanted to leave and be a part of a place that aligned more with his values, and
Yeah.
Penn State. Penn State does, and he really just loved the coaching staff there. The administration backed sports big time. I mean, sports are a huge part of Penn State, and so just ended up kind of falling into place as we left. So
Well, I can respect it, man. I definitely appreciate you breaking that down, because I mean it's just a question I guess it was at least
everybody
at
wants
least
to
for
know.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
everybody.
So I definitely appreciate you breaking it down, and I was honestly hesitant on asking, because I was like I didn't know if there was hard feelings, or yeah. So I was like, man, I don't know if I should or shouldn't, but
But not from
I
our end.
think
Not from our end.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, and there shouldn't be, to be honest with you. You were just because I have a feeling that me and you have the same outlook and the same views and Max, and your guys' outlook and my outlook, from what the little bit you described there, is very much similar to the way I would view it. So I can respect, like you said, just imagine sitting there putting all that work in, and this in the NCAA tournament is no joke. I mean, that's something. man, just going to it as a spectator is amazing. So actually being a part of it and then having them tell you, hey, even though all these other schools are going to be there and their kids are going to be fine and that nobody got sick, nobody passed away, and they're all good, but you guys got to sit at home and watch. So
Yeah, what
that
is
would
this?
be,
What is the survival rate? Of young men that are young people in general that are I don't know. It's like 99 point.
yeah, like
Yeah, I,
99.976.
it's just like how does that just make it make sense? Before you go ahead and just take things that young people have been working so hard their whole lives for. Before you just take that opportunity away, like give give me something, give at least get on and explain your side.
Yeah.
And there was just none of that.
And
So
I think that's where it's sad, but when it comes to that, yeah, I think a lot of the political side of things show up on that matter, and I think you guys might have got caught up in the middle of it, and I could be wrong, but like outside looking in, that's what I would feel like it was like, uh, but hopefully that wasn't the case, but
and
it's definitely a real thing.
it wasn't personal. It wasn't like it wasn't personal towards Cornell wrestling.
Yeah,
It had nothing against it was nothing against Cornell wrestling. I mean, I think it's been spun to from to maybe be that way because we leave Cornell, it's a top program. You go to Penn State, they're obviously super dominant. But I kind of laugh because everybody, kind of. I'm like, first of all, I didn't take a coaching job or anything. I just left and went into the business world. So, and there's really nothing sexy about that when you start a company. So, I just I I'm kind of like, well, yeah. And then my brother, even though it is Penn State they're really good for a reason, and it's not it just their culture there is just really aligned with how he sees and views the world, and so it wasn't a personal attack on Cornell wrestling or anything like that. It just you get put into a position where you have to make some hard choices, and
yes, sir.
we had to make you got to do what you believe in. So
Yeah, and I respect it. Man, it really makes me just a really a Dean family bigger fan. Like you guys stood by what you believed in, and you always seen you in the corner with your brother, which I'm the youngest of three boys, so like it was always awesome to see you right there with him. It was like after you graduated and did your thing, like you were always right there with him, and I'm sure you were with him even while you were there, but it was like they made it a point, like at the NCAA's, like whenever he was wrestling Miles Martin, like you were right there in that corner, and it was just it gives it just I don't know. If I could only imagine if my older brother was and we made it to that level, how awesome it would have been to share. So it was definitely a cool thing to be able to see.
all of Max is everything that I got to witness Max accomplish in wrestling. Um, it's easily the best moments that I had in sports. Just you think when you do it, or you reach the pinnacle, or you win the championship or anything like that. But it's minimal to someone that you love and so much and care about so much. You realize like, oh man, it gets a lot better. The feeling inside, and it's just the most unbelievable moments I've had in sports. My top moments that I've ever had in sports. Just being there,
And helping him,
see it
and
and
that's
seeing,
awesome.
yeah, seeing Max. I just, yeah, it's the best. Doesn't get any better. So
Yeah. So I take it. I mean, which I assumed already. You guys are a super tight, close knit family. I take it.
we're super tight. I mean, he's the best man in my wedding. I was the best man in his. We talk every day. He worked. We hired him. So he works for us now,
Awesome.
and he's training at the NLWC still this year. So he's able to
Now,
work.
does he have with the COVID year? It kind of flipped. I don't know. The eligibility is kind of crazy, like with everybody. Now, is he? it's a wrap. Like that was his final
Yeah, yeah,
NCAA.
yeah. He's done. He that was his final year of eligibility. So yeah.
So now he's still hoping maybe shoot for maybe an Olympic next year or something like that. Bro, like is that why he's still staying?
I think he's just he wanted to be around more so as like a just somebody that could help out. Be a training partner, help the college guys. RTC practices and just be there for the senior level guys. I know he's helping out the senior level guys. So I just think I don't think he intends to compete. I just think he wants to be around and coach a little bit and do stuff like that. So
Awesome,
yeah,
awesome, and that's awesome. You brought him on. I take it that's with the storage unit, the my units that you got
yeah,
started,
yeah,
or
yeah. No, we're really a real estate company. We have the front. We make our own units and all that stuff. But our company hired him, and yeah, he's doing a great job. We hired him this June, so it just started last month. So
now are you on top of running this real estate? Are you still an assistant coach for your old high school down at what was it, Lowell?
no, no, I actually I yeah, full time. Helped found the company, run the company with our amazing staff that we've hired a lot from the rest of the world,
Awesome.
and moved to the south. So I live down south now to open our branch down here. We got a great our main team and headquarters is in West Michigan, where I'm from. That's where our main shop is and our offices, and then I moved down here because the southeast is booming, and we wanted to expand our business down here. So we built a 5,000 square foot shop down here, and continued upon executing the business plan. So um, I live in the warm, sunny South, which I don't miss the winter at all. So
I could imagine up here in Ohio, buddy, we get wrecked with it. So we're just right below you, so I can respect it. And hey,
oh
congratulations, though, man. I mean, even outside of somebody that's just now getting to talk to you, meeting you, but be able to start your own business, starting up a whole like you got one in Michigan, and now you're setting up down south. Like that's no easy feat. So I mean, it's just you're grinding. I'll tell you what, you're in the finals again, and you're winning this one, buddy. So
well,
it's
it's definitely like starting a business. It's a different. It's definitely a different type of challenge. It's extremely difficult. Extremely difficult to especially if you get into very capital intensive type industries. We're in light steel manufacturing and buying real estate and developing it. So it's not cheap. So to capitalize something like that is very was a very very difficult process, and we're still working on it. But it's to the point now where we have all the big hurdles. You overcome all the big hurdles and just have a great team, great initial core team, and it's but it's a lot of work. I mean, uh, you know, 70, 80, 90 hour weeks. So it's a lot of work, but nothing's quite nothing's quite like I think wrestling helped prepare for that, and just the long hour grind matches that you're in,
yeah,
that I honestly think are way more difficult than an 80 hour work week. So
100%.
the amount of hours that you work doesn't really compare to being an hour ago with a national champion or someone that's trying to take your head off. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
wrestling
Now,
makes
when you,
wrestling does make it seem not too bad and at all. So
I can definitely respect it, man. Now with you being away, I mean, is there times in your head like, is it just, hey, we're focusing on business. This is where we're at right now. Is there times it's like, man, maybe one day I'll step back in and coach again, or any kind of inkling of or any kind of itch to get back at it?
um, I've been presented a few opportunities to get back into coaching. I you think about it, but the business, the where it's at, now, to take off and leave it would be a crime
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
my board, and our staff. I could never leave them. And maybe someday, when they fire me as a CEO and move some much better, more qualified guy than me in, I might consider coming back and doing it. But I don't foresee it. I'm honestly I'm having uh, the most fun I've ever had in my life. Just building this thing, and I just feel very like grateful every day that I get to wake up and pursue stuff that I love, and something that we took a risk on at the beginning, and now it's actually becoming something. So it's just really cool. I've always been kind of a builder. I love sports because you could build yourself, and now it's like you're building something where a lot of people are a part of, and um, their lives are around it, and everybody's just getting up every day. There's no drama, and we're just hey, how can we help each other get better every day? It's just very team like, and just the people that I work with, I'm very fortunate. They're just incredible. So
That's awesome. Because I'll tell you what, that's the hardest thing. Like as somebody that's been a superintendent and just finding good help is very hard to find. Especially, it seems like you guys kind of are, which I know some of your family does work for you, but it seems like you're viewing them all as like a family, and you got good workers, and like you said, you're blessed to have the ones that you have, and that I feel
yeah,
like that's
especially
one of the hardest.
nowadays, it's really difficult to for people to. It's very difficult for people to work. Like they just don't want to work.
They don't.
So the people that we have, I mean, they're right alongside. I mean, they're right alongside me. Everybody's just going at it, 24/7. I mean, it never stops. So I think that just to have that, just to have so many like-minded individuals, which is become a much more of a rarity, that are just down and enjoying working, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I I'm like, I kind of got to pinch myself that we have that this collective group, our core executive team, that in our all the way down to our all of our staff, that just feels as passionate, as purposeful as I do about what we're building. So, but
But you know what?
we're
That
not
and
micromanagers. We don't micromanage. If you hire, you know, I feel like a lot of employers put too much weight into a resume as into character. So we really went after character. It's like, well, you can teach in what we do. You can teach somebody what to do. You can't teach somebody to work really hard. So we went after character, and all the roles. Our COO, our CFO, director of acquisitions, all of our roles. Everybody just works really hard. So that's that's been the key to our success.
well, I mean, that just shouts out your character, though, buddy, because that's, I mean, with being in the workforce myself and just knowing that attitude reflects leadership, and you have to, for those people to want to come to work every day and grind and look at that business like it's their own and treat it like it's their own. It's because that they have a love and they love working for you, and you're treating them right, and that's hard to find in itself.
And
For
and I always say, like, nobody works for me. You work with me. We're building this thing together, and it's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of sacrifice, but everybody that is a part of it is there's a it's exciting, it's fun, and it's just it, I think nobody's a micromanager, and I think that really empowers everybody on our staff to speak freely. Hey, if you have an idea, like, we want to hear it. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. It's like, how can we continually improve every day, and the ideas can come from anywhere. So nobody's like beat somebody's door, telling them to do this, telling them to do that. It's more, everything's like posed as a question, like, hey, what do you think about this, or hey, what if we do this, or hey, what if we try this. um, and I think that just that empowerment really helps our staff, and the people that work with us. Just they're excited, because they're I mean, just really smart people too, just that have really improved the business in a lot of different ways. So it's a group effort. So
Absolutely, man. That's awesome to hear. And that 29 years old to be doing what you're doing is you don't hear that too often. So I mean, yeah, just kudos and hats off to you, bro. Like that's it's awesome, and I hope that it keeps growing and taking off for you, and you keep getting these good workers to come your way, and you guys just keep building this thing up.
well, I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, and like I said, I'm having a the most fun I think I've ever had in my life. So I just it's like I say, I got to pinch myself sometimes. It's been a lot of fun. I tell you what, though, I mean, there was definitely it's definitely like it's a roller coaster especially at the beginning, and just like, man, a lot of sleepless nights. How are we going to figure this out? That a lot of that. So it's definitely not like all sunshine and rainbows.
I
Just
could,
like when you start sports, in wrestling and
yep.
general. So
You got to go through them hardships at first
oh
until you
yeah,
get to until you
oh
get to
yeah.
that pinnacle. So that's understandable. But what did you go to school for this? Is like, did you go for like a business degree or just like,
I was a business degree. A fancy term was called applied economics and management, Dyson School of Business at Cornell. But I wasn't a real estate. I didn't focus in real estate. Uh, I I started actually right when COVID hit. I mean, our company is since the since it was incorporated has been about 2 years, but our business plan's probably about 15 months old. So, our company, when the COVID hit, I started reading about real estate and just the the different ways to generate wealth, through real estate investing. And there was nothing else to do. I mean, I couldn't recruit, couldn't wrestle. You can't. There's nothing else to do. So I started reading a bunch, and I started reading about real estate. And as I learned more and more about it, I was like, wow, this is it's way different than the stock market. It's way different than anything else that you can invest in. So I we right at the same time I was actually wrestling. I decided to come out of retirement. I'm wrestling the U.S. Open. Right at the same time I'm wrestling the U.S. Open, I was literally actually signing a purchase agreement for my first real estate deal. So I'm between rounds.
no. Stop. You just kicked it off. Came through with food in 30 minutes of probably the best fucking interview I had. I know. I didn't think it would either. It is what it is. It's all good. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Oh, shit.
Can you hear me?
You there? Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
just shut off, so I'm not sure. Not sure.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was me or you, but I seen like your screen started loading. I don't, is that what happened with mine too? It was
yeah.
like
It
loading.
literally just shut off, and then it said, "Oops, something went wrong." So, but
Oh, wow, I didn't get mine. Just stayed up, and I just was like, oh, I'll just sit here and wait. Hopefully, he gets back on. But we can clean all this up. That ain't no biggie.
good. I'm glad. I don't know technology, so but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, yeah, I was literally signing my first purchase agreement for a first deal that we did, and then yeah, it just kind of started taking off from there. So when I was wrestling in the U.S. Open, literally between rounds. So
That's crazy, man. That's and how'd you do at the U.S. Open with all that on your mind? And I didn't even get to look and see about your freestyle. Like when I know that
I
you
won. I won. It wasn't pretty, but I won. It was in October of 2021, and then we closed on it December 9th, 2021. So yeah, a little over 2 years ago. So yeah,
so
yeah.
you're 26, 27 years old, and you take this leap into starting. I mean, that's I wish I had that kind of 8 years ago. I wish I had what you had, buddy. That guy, yeah, because it takes a set to do what you did. It does,
Well,
and
I don't like. I lived really minimally. Sorry about that.
oh,
When
you're
I
all right.
my dogs are wild, but I have two boxers, so they're being crazy right now. But I live really pretty minimally, so I just I was lucky enough to just have an opportunity, and it had to be done while I was competing. There was no other choice. There's another deal on the table, so um, had to negotiate it. So, and it was me and actually a former teammate of mine that bought it. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad it's thriving. I'm glad, and like I said earlier, man, I really hope it just keeps going for you. I mean, you got me honestly. You got my head spinning. Like, man, maybe I need to step
Well,
out because I've all.
you're a young guy, like I mean, the best thing about like investing is, yeah, for young people is like we have time, right? And to me, I was like, man, I don't need to be going on cruises and yachts and vacations. My future, I get married September 1st, so my wife and I, we live pretty humbly, and we're like, well, if we use the time, if we use time and on our and put that, we invest and work on every penny that we make, we goes back in.
Yeah,
We'll be pretty young and things will be good. So
I like the way it's thinking. Now, do you deal with the stock market at all? Do you guys play with
yeah, so
like?
I was actually I was when I was coaching at Cornell, I was maxing out my 401k, and I was I was lucky. I had a great salary, and I was very lucky, to have a great salary. But I lived in. Do you know who Mitch Clark is? He's national
Oh
champion
yeah,
Ohio
yes
State.
sir,
So him
yes
and
sir.
his wife, Ithaca rent, Ithaca, New York rent is like super expensive. It's like $1,800 a month for a one bedroom. So um, I was at a restaurant one night. I was just graduating, and actually I was just getting done with my first year coaching, and uh, his wife was there, and she was like, hey, we started talking about like, hey, where are you living next year? And I was like, oh, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying to find the cheapest place to live, because I just need a place to sleep. When you're a college coach, you work nonstop too. I mean, you're recruiting, you're wrestling, you're on the road. I mean, it's nonstop. So I was like, oh, I'm just looking for a place where I can put a mattress and sleep. And she's like, well, we have a spare bedroom, and you just, if you want, you just crash in there, and I kid you not, I ended up living with them for about a year and a half, and they didn't make me pay a penny of rent. They were super good to me. It really changed my life, because I was able to save all my money, and really helps me get off to such a great financial start. So, and then I became really close to the family, the kids. They had three little kids at the time. They're just became such. I mean, they became family, and I was super lucky to have the opportunity to do that. So, I was maxing out my 401k, and I was doing all that, and then I discovered real estate, and I said, "Screw this! I'm not." And then the stock market, I was like, kind of like, this is definitely manipulated. There's definitely
Did
fraud.
you get in on the AMC play at all by chance?
No, 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 I did not. But
The
like,
short squeezes.
and then crypto was coming out, and crypto was a big deal, and it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you get all these options. But then like, I did that first real estate deal, and we did a strategy called the Burr method, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And there's nothing in the investment world where you can drive appreciation through equity and drive your equity in an asset, and at the same time, what's up, buddy? How you doing? But then
Shit.
at the same time, tap into that equity with cash and refinance, and you do it again. So I took everything out, and I just started putting it into real estate and started doing deals, projects, and then I put everything to pretty much to my name, and just helping start the company that we are now in, and it just kind of took off from there. So now we really do the Burr method, in our own unique way, over and over and over again, and so
That's crazy. Like, you guys really look at it from a different perspective than a lot of people. Like, I mean, honestly, you're teaching me is, I mean, this has turned into like something. I was like, I will go over his career to where like I feel like I'm getting lessons here on it. So I appreciate it, man. It's turned out to be even better than what I
we get
ever thought it could be.
go back to wrestling. I didn't mean to get all. We don't want
No, no, dude. I'm telling you, like, honestly, like, this is what's the word I'm looking for? Like, whenever, like, I think this is the best. Like, and it's not against anybody. Love them all that have given me the time, but like when you get a unique and you get rolling like that, I think it's the best route. Like the best.
to agree.
It's very organic. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I can appreciate it.
There's nothing that, like, you can't do this in the stock market. You can't do it in crypto. You can't do it in you can't do it in your 401k. There's nothing investment wise where you can take something that's been deprived or it's been abandoned, and then you can come in and force appreciation and value by fixing it up, renting it out, and increasing the NOI and the cash flow, and then at the same time turn around and say, "Hey, bank, look, I doubled the revenue here. Now it's bringing in twice the income." And the bank goes, "Okay, yeah, it is. Let's have it reappraised." And then they reappraise it, and it's worth way more than what you bought it for. And they say, "Okay, well, do you want to take 80% loan to value out against this, consolidate your existing debt, and then you know here's the check for the remaining amount, and then you can
Right.
just do whatever you want with this." And the best thing about that is that it's technically the cash out money that you get against that asset is not taxable since it's debt. But now your cash flow of the asset itself is paying for that new debt, and it's paying you, and you have, couple, maybe 100 grand, 50 grand, 75 grand of tax free money
Wow.
or more. And you can go put that, now you do it again. You put 20% down on a $500,000 property, and you drive it to $1 million property. And now, you just keep doing it over
Keep
and over again.
and
So
keep building yourself.
your cash flow is growing. And there's nothing else there's nothing else you can do like that. So
No,
I
that's
said,
not.
screw it. I'm not doing the stock market game. I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to put my money into real assets that I can reach out and touch, that I can force appreciation to drive equity, retap into that equity, so I can go buy more
And
assets.
you ain't got to worry about nobody if it is if somebody is messing with it, if it is rigged up, because you know what you, like you said, you're able to reach out, you're able to touch it, you know what you need to do with it, you know what, like,
It's
this
not
is
just numbers.
mine.
It's not just numbers on a screen. I
Yeah,
got
hoping it goes green today. We're looking for a bull market, like.
I hope the Fed chair Jerome Powell gives good news this week. I don't know. That's what I love, is there's so much opportunity in real estate to create wealth, to generate cash flow, to generate, to do all those things that you can't do in any other investment. So it's just when I started reading about it, it almost seemed like not too good to be true. And then you start doing it, and you're like, wow, this gets there's patience involved. It takes a little time to get the ball rolling, but once you kind of do, you're like, wow, this is awesome. so it's just and then I just fell in love with it. I just taking something from point A and seeing the finished product in point B is like such a satisfying feeling. You take a storage facility and it's one row of buildings and it's got trees and vines and stuff growing over top of it or whatever, and you clear it all up, and then you quadruple the capacity of units there. You get a rental, you get stabilized, you refinance it, and you move on. I love that before and after picture. So
You can tell whenever you talk about it that you have a love and a passion for it. But like, say if I'm somebody right here, somebody that is going to step foot into that business world, what would be your advice to them? Like, what would be step one? Like, just looking for a piece of property that they can make a little bit off of, or like, I
Like if they
guess,
were going to get
how
into
would you
real
get started?
they're going to get into real estate or just start a business in general? What which one?
Real estate, real
Yeah,
estate.
because I mean, yeah, I would say start a business in general. That's a complicated question, but the if you're
Yeah,
going to get
yeah,
into real estate,
absolutely.
I would say the best way, especially if you're just getting started, and actually my brother just did this, and I've done it too, is this strategy called house hacking, where if you live in a multifamily asset that is 4 units or less, it's still considered a single family loan. So if you live in something that has 4 units or less, you're fine. Until you, if you go above 4 units, it's technically a commercial asset, and you have to get a commercial loan. So what my brother just did is a great example. He found a duplex. He lives in one side of it, and then he rents out the other side. And what allows you when you're just getting started, because real estate's expensive. You know, if you buy three, four, $500,000 property, right? You got to come. If you're putting 20% down, that's a lot of money. But when
Yes,
you
sir.
house hack and you live in it, you there is first time homebuyer loans where you can put 3% down or 5% down. But instead of
Just
just
did it.
a single family home, which technically is, I mean, it is an asset on your balance sheet, but on your personal financial statement. But instead of living in a single family home where you're paying the mortgage, you live in a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex. You live in one of the units. You acquire that. That's now your asset, and then the rent's paying your mortgage, or it's paying the mortgage and it's paying you on top of that. But at least if you're breaking even, now someone's building equity in the asset for you. You got in for 3% down, and you got cash flow. When you move out of that, when the time is right, you need to stay in it for at least a year. You move out of that, now you have
Is
an
that for capital gains taxes? Is that what the, or are you just saying like to sell, you got to stay, keep
you
it
got
for
to
a year?
you usually have to stay in it for a year per just your bank usually wants.
Okay.
It's a loan covenant that's like, hey, we need you to live in this for a year because it's your primary residence. So when you move out of it, now you got your tenant still in there. You move somebody else into that unit, and now you're making money. Someone's building that, so now you're making money and building equity, and on top of that, you refinance because now it's bringing in way more income than when you bought it. And you refinance, pull that cash out, or leverage that equity to go do it again. You do that a couple times until you have positive 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grand coming in a month, and then now the bank says, bank, okay, you're making $7,000 a month. We can give you a pretty hefty loan to go and start doing some big
Some real,
some
yeah.
real big deals. So if you're willing to do that, I would say house hacking is like just a great way to just get started. My brother just did it. I've done it. I've got a couple buddies that have done it. And even though you're sharing a house and it's not like the sexiest thing in the world, but that's something that's just like it's worth it because if you do that, if you just house hacked one duplex, for once a year for let's just say for 5 years, and when you move that, and let's say you're renting each side out for 2,000 each, $1,500 a month, and let's say each duplex is clearing $1,000 a month. Once you move out, you rent it out, you rent your space out. Think about just in 5 years, if you did that, you'd be positive cash flow in 5 grand a month, and then you could still be working your regular job. And the big thing is you want to keep a regular job so the bank will lend you money to do.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to like say, okay, I'm just going to quit everything. I'm going to do this. No, you need to keep your job, and the bank
You
will lend
feel
you.
that,
But
feel that.
everybody's so scared of debt. The word debt is like, oh, it's terrifying. But only if you're buying liabilities. And the difference between an asset and a liability is cash flow. Is it bringing in cash? Is it not bringing in cash? And
Well, see, I just purchased my first home, and I guess that's why I was interested in this. And I'm sorry to bombard you with the questions, but it just got me interested now because like I purchased my first home, and it was a 3% down, and I got it for 40,000 under what it appraised for. Now it needs some love. it's not something that I could just flip, make my 40 go. Like it needs a driveway, it needs some garage doors, you know what I mean? Little TLC on the outside. The inside was just redone, but then it's like, do you take that asset and is it better off to rent, or do you flip it and then take it? But then you got that 20% down for the next one.
Oh,
So
don't sell it. I mean, you bought it right. You got $40,000 of equity just sitting in your house right
right,
now.
right.
That's awesome. That doesn't happen that much, by the way. So like just on the initial buy to have 40 grand in equity is incredible. You're that now on top of that, go, chip away at getting some and prettying up some things, right? That,
Yeah.
driveway in. If you can add another bathroom or another bedroom, that drives the value hugely. Or if you can just, paint it or whatever. But now you put a little bit of money into it, but it's driving appreciation way higher. So when you move out of it, don't sell it. You can do it single family, move somebody into it, rent it out, but then refinance it at the same time. You're not only going to be able to tap into that $40,000 of equity, you're going to be able to tap into, 75, 80% of that. So let's say 75, just for easy math. They're going to give you 30 grand into your pocket, cash. They're going to put it in your bank account. That's tax-free money, plus whatever you force the appreciation in by cleaning that place up. So let's say you put 10, 15, 20 grand into it, and now but it forces appreciation up to 75 grand. Now they're going to let you tap into that 65, 60 grand on top of that initial equity that you bought it with, and now you take that and you go do your next thing. And then that's just how you just do that over and over and over again. And that's just really how you create wealth extremely fast, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
So you bought a great place. You bought an awesome place. Great job. You got $40,000 in equity there. Don't sell it. Keep it and just leverage it to buy your next asset. Now, if you were like, I'm going to leverage it to buy a yacht or a boat, I'd say, whoa, don't do that, because that's right? That's a depreciating asset. But if you're going to if you're leveraging assets to buy more assets that are appreciating, debt is a good thing. Debt is awesome. The only money that doesn't get taxed in the United States is debt. And we have this thing where you can refinance stuff after forcing appreciation, get actual cash in your hand, and someone else is paying for it. And on top of that, nobody can tax it because it's technically debt, but it's cash at the same time. So it's the greatest tool to create wealth quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's got me excited because I was blessed enough to get it off my uncle. He bought it, redid it, and he was just looking out. I was just moving back to Ohio from Pittsburgh, and he was like, "Hey, here you go. It puts you close to home, close to family," and
And
gave
that's
me
the
a killer
best thing.
deal.
It didn't even hit the market then.
No,
So like your best deals are found actually off market. Perfect example is what you just described. And now, I mean, I'm excited for you. I think I mean, you're going to be able to, put somebody else, even if it's just breaking even on the new debt that you're going to refinance and tap into that equity on, even if it's just breaking even, someone's building equity in it for you now. And now you got this cash in your pocket after consolidating the old debt. You got this cash in your pocket between the new debt and the consolidation of the old debt that you get to go use to do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again. So and it's not taxable cash. So
that's crazy.
that's what I'm actually excited for you. That's a great story. You're in a perfect position to get going after it. So
Yeah, and the hard. I guess the hardest part is like, all right, so you pick up the mortgage, you pick up everything, but it's finding. God didn't bless me with the carpentry skills, right? So like I'm looking for ways to, all right, put these garage doors on that they want 6 grand to put them on, and then to put the garage floor needs fixed up. It's really just the outside and like the basement, because the whole inside's brand new. He redid the whole thing, and they did an amazing job. But it was just more or less like, man, I wish I was able to do it, because then it would cut down on the money that I have going out into it. You know what I mean? So instead of having 6 grand, I wish I could get those garage doors for 3 and put them on. But that carpentry skill and me we don't vibe. And then everything I've heard about garage doors are like, dude, that spring will come back, pop you in the face. So I was like, all right, we'll just play the 6th then.
Well, I'll tell you what, the wrestling world has a lot of handy people too. So if you're networked into the wrestling world at all, and they're in Ohio, like you take your son to a youth club there, or anything, or you're involved with the youth club. A lot of the dads, a lot of the people, the wrestling world's so awesome. They're willing to help out, and you'll find contractors all over the place. Actually, my first deal led to my second deal because I was working alongside one of the club dads. Every week when I was at Cornell, I would drive over to Rochester, New York, and I'd do a youth club once a week. Just 26 kids that I would just help out once a week, or have somebody from Cornell go and help out once a week, little guys. And I met a business partner of mine. He's a business partner of mine now. We bought a student housing rental portfolio in Brockport, right about 20 minutes about where he lives. It's his first real estate deal. We became partners. We started, and it's taken off since. We just bought another building. We have a restaurant in it now. I mean, it just kind of took off, but it came from the youth wrestling club there. So you never know. The wrestling world's a real
Yeah,
small place. So
it is a very small community, and I'm learning that like in the last 2 months, and it's like, man, kind of it's a very small clique, but it's a very humble, like very
yeah,
genuine people inside of that clique, and I'm trying to squeeze my way into it a little bit more, but at the same time, it's just I love it, and honestly though, like both things that we are discussing right now are very important in my life. Like the route that you took and the things that you're explaining to me are huge, and you happen to be one of the baddest men that ever stepped on the planet on a wrestling mat. So like two things like this turned out to be better than I ever expected. So I appreciate all that info, man.
no, I'm glad. I'm happy to share it with anybody that's curious. I mean, it's done wonders for me. Like I said, I'm having the most fun I've ever had. I just getting into this real estate, and just our company is really revolved around what I just explained in its own unique way. So I just it's anything I can do to help and give back. I'm here for. So
Yeah, and I can see that though, and it's definitely like there's people that can say it, but man, you're actually doing it. So it's very awesome to sit down and be able to talk with you here, man. It has been, and uh, I, I hope this thing blows up for you, and I really do. I hope the sky. I do. The sky is the limit for you. You're so intelligent with it, like with what you just explained, that it, I don't. Failure is not an option, right?
that is the truth. I actually say it all the time. I'm just like, well, failure is not an option. We hit a wall. We figure out how to climb over it together. So and we've hit them. I mean, there's definitely, like I said, there's been a few there's been multiple sleepless nights where you're like, man, I don't know how we're gonna figure this one out, and then maybe by a little bit of luck, but also you get luckier the harder you work, right? So just working as hard, working, just not failure is not an option. So when that's not an option, you usually figure it out
Come
in
out, yes,
one way,
sir.
shape, or form. So and we've got really intelligent people. I mean, my board is made up of just unbelievably talented, accomplished people that I report to. So I just got really great guidance and just great stat. I mean, yeah, I'm in a position now where if there's an issue or something comes up, where there's a whole group of minds on it. It's not just me. So
And that's what you got to have. Just like you said with when we was talking, when we first started talking, you said that your wrestling success was made up of a bunch of people, and it seems like that your business is also likewise. It's taken that same group, but I mean, you seem to always surround yourself with those right type of people. And my grandfather said he was his biggest thing was you are the company you keep. So you seem to surround yourself with great people, and you've done great things from high school to where you're sitting now at 29 years old and doing this business, man. So uh, kudos to you, brother.
you're usually like really when you start something, you're usually like really not good at it. So so you really are seeking people that are good at it. So it's like
Yeah,
how do I pull together all the resources to you know to really help me get better at this so I can execute and be better for them or for whoever I'm representing, right? So it's like if you're really unassuming and you have no arrogance and you have humility and you're like I like and just hey, I'm really bad at I'm not good at this, so I need help.
Yeah.
You'll start just because when you're driven and your failure is not an option, you're like pulling everything you can to try to get over those hurdles. So, and a lot of times I just like in wrestling, I had just great technicians, great training partners, great people. And the same thing with business, you're just pulling all those resources together to make it happen and turn it into something awesome. So,
It definitely seems like it's definitely worked, man. And actually, even I sit here and I look at all these things you've done and accomplished from your junior, your senior, all of these. And I know your senior year, I mean, you're looking to go in and be a three-time national champ. And you you end up taking second. And how does that? I don't, because like you had such a phenomenal season. Honestly, it's on. I know you didn't get the NCAA title like you did your sophomore and junior year, but I love your senior year. I really do. Like from
good year.
be, yeah, it was, man. It was fun to watch. Even in the finals with the 4-3 to Bo, it was tough to watch because I'll tell you, I was hoping that you would get that third, and that ain't nothing against Bo, but like, I just felt like the work was put in. You watch you grow as a freshman to your sophomore and junior year and getting those titles, and but you went 35-1. You end up finishing second, lose it by 1 point, and you were on a 43 match winning streak. You set the school record with 152 wins, and you're the third guy to ever win the Southern Scuffle 4 times. And out of those 35 wins, 31 of them were by bonus points. So, I mean, it was just such a phenomenal season, I feel like. And I, walking off that mat after that match with Bo, and how did you look? I mean, I know it couldn't have been a good feeling. I don't know. Like, I guess how was knowing that was it, and that's how you still had an amazing legacy. But where's your head at?
Yeah,
Did
I
you remember?
think I've been asked. I definitely this has been it's a good question. It's and I talk about it. When I talk about it, when I actually I enjoy talking about it because I mean everybody sees all the awesome stuff. Yeah, but not a lot of, especially kids. I think they need to hear it.
Me too.
That,
Me too.
these it's really hard. It's a really it's painful. It's painful as hell. I was in. It was painful because I don't think, and this is nothing against Bo. I was caught up in some personal life distractions that I had complete control of to eliminate, and I did not. And I think I let that get in my head.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that affected the way that I competed, not just against Bo, but actually that whole tournament. I actually almost lost in the quarterfinals to Jack Deckow. Got into
Mhm.
the multi overtime match, um, and I think I got to the end of that year, and um, the thing that really made me really good that year is I didn't really care about winning. Um, the only thing I cared about was maximizing my potential, which I put all my emotional and physical energy into my discipline, which is like how I ate, how I trained, how I peaked, how I slept. Um, and the outside world did couldn't really phase me the whole year. And then a couple of little things happened at the end in my personal life that I just really got into my head, and winning became much more important all of a sudden headed into that tournament. You got the Hodge Trophy on the line. You got, you're wrestling for your third national title. All those things start to get into your head, and it affects how you compete, and the real pain's found in that. If I was in a great spot and I went out there, I gave everything I had, and I competed at an optimal level. If I lost, I mean, you just tip your hat at that point. Like, you did everything that you could in your control.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that was most painful is that I let things in my control affect me putting the best version of myself out there. Um, and it's weird because you're so disappointed in yourself when that happens. It the it's the losing is part of life. Like failure is part of life. Like that just happens. Like if you're trying to succeed, if it's not happening in your life, then you're not trying
You're
to
not trying. Yes,
you're not
sir.
trying to do anything. So it's just a part of life. And if you can't be scared of that, you can't be scared of what's on the other side of it. Usually, everything that you want is on the other side of it. But if you let it get to be a distraction and you're not focused on everything that's in your control, then that's where the pain comes from because that's on you. I mean, you could have done that. So it's a weird feeling. It was a weird feeling walking off that stage that night, knowing that um, I let superficial things that weren't to my standard of competing for affect me, and at the same time, um, trying to have like extreme gratitude for the career I just had, you know,
Yeah,
and
because you
like
should.
it's like very emotional because everybody that's poured so much into you, you know, to to make you who you are and put you in that position that you're in, um, you feel like almost like really responsible, for like you almost feel like you let them down, but then they're all emotional, because they,
Wanted you to get it.
yeah, and so coming into our banquet that night and our social that night and just seeing everybody's faces and everybody was just so amazing to me and just so nice to me and just arm around your shoulder, like proud of you type moments over and over again, with people that you really respect and love and care about. I It's a weird feeling because I was so disappointed in myself, um, but at the same time I was like, wow, I mean, 3-time national finalist, 2-time champ, 4-time All American.
You've never finished under third place, brother. I mean, you're one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
It's a weird feeling because you're like, man, I didn't even place at my state tournament in high school my freshman year, so it's,
Yeah,
and then you're like, I won more national titles than I did state titles. If anybody would have told me I just had this career, I would have thought I would have taken it. I would have been like, oh my god, I can't believe that. Yes, um,
yeah,
but that's enough, and that was another lesson for me. Is like if you like, I used to think like, if I could just be an All American, like my life would be made. Or man, if I could just win one national title, my life would be made. And the thing is like life is just such a journey. And when you do accomplish one of your goals, um, it just can't be the end. Like
yep. You got to keep setting it high.
there's got to be something that's more. But continual self improvement is probably the thing that you want to pursue in life. How good of a person can you be, and can you live a life of service? How disciplined to live in a life of service um, can you be? And if you take care of those two things and maximize everything that's in your control, it comes full circle. And after I got done competing, that became really important for me in the rest of my life. A lot of guys get caught up in the stardom and being the man and those kinds of things. And they kind of go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. But if you live to serve and you live to continue to try to improve yourself every day, through just your career, your family, um, and the kind of person you are, that's where real true happiness lies.
Yeah,
So,
very well said,
so it was
man.
a, it was
Well,
a very mixed. But back to your question, it's a very mixed emotions because of
yeah,
just.
I could imagine. I guess that's what I was expecting because I mean, you come in after your sophomore and junior year, and I mean, you're just having such an amazing career, and I just kind of always wondered, like, man, what would that have felt like, because I mean, I usually, especially being an Ohio guy, I follow, Ohio State a little bit heavy and, um, just being the state that I'm from, but we really were rooting for Gabe, you know what I mean? So like we got, heck, I think half the country was heartbroken for you that was watching it, you know what I mean? And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really, really kind of you to say. I Yeah, I wasn't the better man that night, and I do think about it every time. I feel myself getting maybe a little undisciplined to my purpose and to what I'm trying to accomplish every day. Vivid memory comes back. So in a
Yeah.
way,
That,
it's also, my brother lost in the national finals, and I sat there and I was able to, put my arm around him and relate to the moment, which was really important, because he was heartbroken, obviously. And I was able to say, "Hey, man, I know how it feels." And that's really good. And then a lot of kids that I've worked with or helped or been around, that have had heartbreaks, it makes you more relatable. And if there's anything that you can do, right, is to use your tough experiences to help others. So um, it served a purpose in my life, that time, that big time, and it's helped move things forward. So
everything happens for a reason, I guess. Then, right?
that's right. That's right.
And that, and I'll tell you, it seems that this amazing journey of everything, 152 wins in the NCAA's and setting records in two national championships, finishing in the top three every year, to even a successful, with a short stint within the freestyle. I mean, everything you touch, man. I mean, you're a winner, buddy. And then, and it's showing now at 29. You got a head on your shoulders like you just don't see. And not like because like you said earlier, we're not old, you know what I mean? So y-
We got time
you,
on our side.
definitely, man. And I guess 2 years ago when my son was born, it really set it into perspective of I just got to be the most successful version of me that I can be. And
And
there's a lot of things I need to change, but that's why I'm like I was into those questions and trying to focus because you see somebody that is making it and being successful, and so the only way to learn is by picking somebody's brain, learning how to get ahead.
it's amazing when something becomes much more important than yourself. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
wrestling is like, and wrestling's weird because like if you take care of yourself, like you take care of everything else. It's like it's almost like backwards because it's like if you're selfish, things are usually pretty good. Um, you know, but then what a crazy experience for me is when I was selfish. I mean, I took care. I was all about just making sure I was in the best position to compete and win and all that stuff. And then you get into coaching and it's quite the opposite. It's all about everybody else. So and then you have your brother coming into play and you're like, you go through that whole thing and my life, like when you're winning national titles and you're like, you're doing those kinds of things, you're like, man, I'm peaked out. I'm having the time of my life right now. and then and then that ends and you're like, well, what is this going to be about now? What is every day going to be about now? Every day I woke up, I was doing everything I could to put myself in a position to try to be a national champion, or, and dominate, not just win, just like actually like dominate everybody.
you did.
And then you wake up the next day after you lose in your third national title, and it's like, well, you realize like life just goes on. Like it doesn't just stop. People get up, they pour their cup of coffee in the morning, they go to work, things have to get done, things are moving along, the world's turning, and life goes on. And it's like, okay, well, what is this going to be about now? Where am I going to find purpose? Where am I going to find happiness? Where it's not. I just made my whole life about this one thing for the last 5 years, and the real answer is just in living to serve for other people. And if you live to serve every day, just like you said about your son, it's like it comes full circle, like in the best way. Your brother, upsets Miles Martin who was pretty much untouchable that year, in the national semifinals. And even though he loses the national title the next night, it just it just comes full circle where you pour yourself into people. It comes back around, and people get lost because they keep chasing that that national title that doesn't exist anymore. They keep chasing that thing that's just about them. And the best thing that I learned, and I learned it through the hard way, was, man, if you turn around and just start, all right, I'm gonna get up and I'm just gonna help anybody I can today. I'm just gonna help whatever anybody that calls me. I'm gonna do something for somebody today. Um, things get things get really good, and they actually you realize like, wow, this is a sustainable way to go until I'm 6 feet under, you know, and
Absolutely.
and that's the happiest, most successful people I know. They just live the life of service. So, and I imagine that's what it's like when you become a dad. I'm not a dad yet, but I
Yeah, get that marriage first,
I,
and you
I
guys
will
are on
be.
your
I
way.
will be. I will be
Yes,
for sure.
sir.
So that's good. It's
I tell you what, buddy, it like how you're talking about serving and just helping and doing and looking out for others. Like once you have him or her, it's a feeling like no other, man. And everybody always told me that, and I was like, I'm sure, I'm gonna love my kid, obviously. But I mean, then when you really it happens, it's like sometimes, I mean, I'm trying to enjoy the 2-year-old stage because I remember when he was and it flies by, and I'm like just sitting there rocking him to bed the other night, man, and I start kind of like welling up with some tears. I don't even know why, but it's just like that's my guy. You know what I mean? That's my man. So
right,
I got,
right.
yeah, I gotta make the best for him. And there's a lot of things that I gotta clean up and make sure that I can be the best me that I can be
Well,
for him.
it's great because that's and if you're able, like a lot of people don't even like they won't even recognize those things, right? They just push them under they'll just push them down like and justify, oh, I don't need to fix that, oh, I don't need to do that, right? But like the fact that you actually like recognize like, oh, these are my faults, these are my things, and like I have to continually fix these now not because of me, because of this little guy right here. He's got fingers and toes, and he's trying to be great in this world too. That's a really like powerful thing, man. So not a lot of people are willing to recognize that. So good for you.
Nah, you got. I feel like it just like no different than you. Like, and honestly, after hearing this, like, it makes me love that senior year even more because of the simple fact that, like, I think you are where you are and a success. Not saying you wouldn't have been. Say you win that. I'm not. I don't want it to sound like if you would
No,
have
no,
been a
but I actually
three-time, but
agree. I agree
I
with what you
think it. Yeah, I think it has a big part into like what Gabe Dean is right now and like how awesome and of a road that you're on and building this empire that you're building, buddy.
humility is extremely important to success in life. Nobody, that's just like a very important thing because if you're willing to be humble and humble yourself, like the world opens up to you in so many different ways than one. So, uh, and I don't know if I quite understood that in college. I wasn't like an arrogant guy, but I definitely was focused on me, and nothing was gonna get in the way of me being the best version of me when I stepped on the mat. Um, but I was probably missing out, a little bit in some areas. And then that night happened, and there had to be a there had to be a different reason why I was getting out of bed every day. And
Now, do you think that you could be that person you was though without being focused on you solely? Like,
yes,
with, yeah,
yes, because now I mean I have to put my best version of myself in every day for the people that I work with and for the company that we're building. So I do have to, but that best version of myself is brought out by not only executing the things that are in my control, but also serving all the people that I work with or for and the board that I report to. So I, you can do that. You can do both. You can be a great leader and also and what's leadership, right? You're just in the trenches with your people, right? You're not a boss is cracking the whip and sipping on mai tais down in Hawaii. That a leader is actually in the trenches and there and I was in the trenches in college. Like there's no I wasn't back down from anything, but I could have maybe grabbed the guy left and right of me and brought brought them with me a little bit, and I didn't. I was just super focused on myself. So I think that
Yeah.
now now you can you really can do both. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this guy's struggling over here. It's okay to go. Take a second from you and go over here and just say, hey,
Help
dude,
him out.
all right, like let me help you out. Like it's gonna be good. We're gonna figure this out. This is I've been there. Um, and that's that service part that 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 kicks in. So
Yeah, that's wow. Powerful, man. That's wow. Yeah, that's and just like you said, like for you to be able to uh be humble enough to sit there and say that is awesome because that I think if high school kids, and honestly that's usually the people watching this, man, if they look back and they get two-time national champ, four-time All-American Gabe Dean sitting here saying this, then it's probably the way that we should go about it because I know uh it, people look up to you. I mean, that's just it comes with what you've done with your life, your career, with wrestling, after wrestling. I mean, buddy, I look up to you, and I'm 5 years older than you. So whether it's older, younger, I mean, you've done very well with everything, and you have a very good. Uh, Honestly, I think you could be like a motivational speaker and slash like help people out with you could go a whole bunch of different routes and be a successful man, that's for sure. And
thank
I'd
you.
show up to them, man. I would. I'd come to every one of them. Anytime you come up to Ohio around it, I'd be there. You go back to Michigan, I'm coming up.
Well,
But
thank you. That's super kind. I appreciate it. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Um, it's definitely it's definitely probably one of the better conversations interviews I've ever had. So I just kudos to you. Um,
man,
I
appreciate
I just I I think like when you just speaking from the heart and the truth, right? It's just easy. The truth the truth always prevails. It just I mean this is just real. I there's no like made up or anything. Like I'm a man of many flaws. And every person is. Everybody.
so
Nobody's perfect, right? So, um, I and I don't want kids to think that we are because they're gonna lose. They're gonna fail. They're gonna do things wrong, right? They're little guys and they're growing up and um, I don't want them to think like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be like like David Taylor, or Kyle Dake, or some of these guys
Kevin Smith, and,
because
yeah,
they're
Logan
perfect.
Seaver,
I mean, we're,
you,
we're the
yeah,
farthest thing. We're all the guys that we're the farthest thing from perfect. We just know how to manage it, and we just learned how to manage it. And just and that's it. And so I just I never want kids to feel like we're not like the guys that they look up to are dehumanized because we're not. We're just human beings. So we're just kids like them at one point. So I
think so.
so it's just really important to talk about the things that you struggle with, things that you failed at.
Yeah,
Um, so nobody wants to hear. Everybody knows you, right? Like when you get in a wrestling room, like everybody's like, oh yeah, like they know what you accomplished. You don't need to talk about that. You need to talk about all the things that it took you to get there.
yes. And
So
that's a big reason of why I honestly wanted to start this because I watched you for 4 years. You know what I mean? And as much as I was able to, like in anywhere, I've watched, and now you can get on Flow and watch. I've watched almost every single one of your matches that you all 152 wins almost, bro. And I'm not even just saying that. I really before this, like I really try to do my homework before I step into any conversation with anybody. But the big part is instead of looking at the wins and losses, I don't even care if it's a kid that's just coming out of high school to youth kids to high school kids to college kids, to guys that won two national championships and are starting their own businesses and doing their thing now. I just want people to see like who is Gabe Dean, man? Other than man, he was a monster on a wrestling mat, but like who is he really? And I feel like you've answered that question better than anybody can, man. You're a very, very humble, hardworking individual, and that's what I get out of this hour and 15 minutes that we've spoken is just how you view things is a completely different perspective than a lot of other people, and I think it's the reason why you are where you are. And I think a lot of people that watch this can take a lot from it, and I hope it skyrockets and gets a pile of views because I think it could help a pile of people, buddy. I
Well,
really do.
you asked the right questions. So you led the interview. I'm just following. So I mean, credit to you. And honestly, I think that there's and there's still a lot to do and a lot to build. So like I'm 29 and I love to work. I love what we're doing. So I got a lot more to go. I mean, we're not perfect yet. We're probably never. I mean, we're going to try to be as perfect as we can, but we got a lot more things to improve on. We got a lot of things to do. We got a lot of things, big goals that we want to accomplish. So, it's there's a lot more to go, and it's exciting. The adversity that waits ahead is exciting. Um,
Absolutely, that's the
so
only way to look at it.
that's
I
right.
can
That's right.
I like that. I like that. Taking it head on, just like you have. But you've been that way forever. I mean, even we'll use Ed Ruth as an example. I mean, he gets you, then you took that adversity and took him head on, and he might
Well,
have
I
come
was
back.
just as surprised as everybody else was. So
It was an aw. It was awesome. It
I
was
know.
awesome.
He pinned me like a few months in that famous cradle, at a Open Binghamton Open, which is a couple months
Yep.
before the scuffle. And my only mindset going into the match was like, I just I don't care if I get teched, I don't care if I get majored, I don't care if I lose. I am just not getting pinned.
Getting it.
Like I was like so mad after he pinned me because I mean he's Ed Ruth, he's like,
He was
man,
that guy.
I was watching Ed Ruth when I was in high school, like two
Right.
years.
Remember him? Like he would even be in the tunnel, like when they would film him
Oh,
before the
he's so
NCAA
good,
finals, and it was like,
just
dude,
amazing, just
yeah,
amazing. Like when I was a senior in high school, that dude was winning national titles, right? So it's like
yeah.
I'm gonna wrestle this guy. He's on like an 84 match win streak, and
You
I am
break
not
it.
getting pinned though. That was like that was the only thing that was running my head. I'm like, I'm not getting pinned. And
Uh,
you know what? It's I don't think it's a coincidence when you don't care if you lose or not. You're just gonna fight like hell. That probably puts you in like the best odds that you could possibly be in against a guy like that. So, um, I mean, Ed was just an amazing athlete and wrestler, and if he was, in credit to him, there wouldn't be an upset unless he trained and worked and accomplished the things that he did. So, that and he got me when it counted. I mean, he beat me in the
yeah,
semi. Yeah, he beat me
he
in the semi.
beat you. Yeah, 5-3. But I mean, at the end of the day, though, like whenever you beat him at the Southern Scuffle and snap that 84 match winning streak and get the Sports Illustrated on the what was it
Yeah, the
the
Sports
face in
Illustrated.
the crowd.
Yeah, that's probably the most famous I've ever felt in my life. To be honest with you, when that happened,
That was it was huge. Yeah,
I
dude, I remember kids at school talking about it. Like, dude, Ed Ruth went down at wrestling practice the next
and they're
day.
like, "What's this? Who is this guy? Like, who beat who is like, who's this kid? Who is this guy? Where's he from?
It puts you on the map, buddy, and then it was everybody wanted to see you from for the next. You were a freshman when that happened,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I mean, the next 3 years it was like we were watching Gabe D. Like this kid he's an animal.
yeah.
And to be honest, outside of that one time him pinning you at the Binghamton Open, like even in the semis, you lose 5-3. I mean, you ran with Ed as a freshman. Like so, did
Yeah.
you redshirt or was you a true
Oh,
freshman?
I took a year. I did. I trained for a year. Actually, I took a year and I never won one open tournament. We went to everything. We went to, Millersville Open. We went to the Buffalo Open. We went to, all these kinds of different things. I never won one. I took fifth, sixth. I'd wrestle but the thing was, I wrestled a ton because I'd lose like the first or second or third round. I'd wrestle like 6 or 7 matches back and take sixth. And I wrestled 74 matches my first year in college. So I just got so much like under my belt, like experience wise. Never won a tournament. The highest I took was the Millersville Open. I took second place, and I just but I got tons of experience. I was training with Cam Simons a lot, who is a 4-time All-American national champion for Cornell, and he's an absolute just animal.
Yeah,
So
absolute
I
stud to
was
be
I
training.
was learning how to survive him, and I think learning how to survive Cam really helped me a lot. He was just such a high-paced, physical dude that just had absolute wars in the room with him. He just I mean, he'd choke me, he'd throw me into throw me, but he was like, teaching me, helping my mentality. So, um, but yeah, it just kind of became a progression. Like came into the next year, Damian Hahn really took me under his wing. It helped me a lot technically and get organized, and then just started chipping away, and then like won the Vegas tournament, which was like a pretty big deal to me
Oh, yeah.
at the time. And then I was like,
With
whoa.
team.
And then, went to the Scuffle and beat Steinhaus in the semis, and Steinhaus was a
Yeah.
two-time All-American. And I was like, oh my God, I just beat okay. And then
Started just
it just kind of just became, because like my goal at the beginning of the year was just to like make the team. I just wanted to start,
next thing you know.
and then I by the end of the year, you're like you took third in the country, and it's like almost hard to believe. But
It did, and it really is. It just shows how hard you really worked. Because I mean, I don't even know if you were a top 50 recruit. I know you was a top 100 recruit. I
I
can't
was
remember what the exact number, but it was a top 100 recruit, and it was kind of like I
I
literally had to
was
read it twice. I was like, this is Gabe Dean. He had to be a blue chip recruit, but
no no
yeah,
no I wasn't a blue chipper. I was a chip off the old block. That's
that's
for
it. But
I wasn't a blue chipper. Far from it. And I think they took a risk on me. They really did, and forever grateful for that. Rob Cole and Damien, and just really believed in me, and just took a chance. And uh, yeah, I mean, like I couldn't even touch the blue chip recruits in high school. I was getting just absolutely creamed by guys like Morgan McIntosh and those guys that were just such a high level of so young. So um,
absolutely.
it was just yeah. It
Did
was
you guys go? Did your high school do the Ironmans, the Beast of the East, the
and
Power
at
Race?
that time I was playing football. We I didn't get done. The first year I started on varsity was my sophomore year. I started quarterback, and the only reason I started quarterback is because the senior quarterback broke his collarbone, a week before the first game, and then we ended up just getting on a roll and winning a state title that year. But every time we played in the state finals every year, but the state finals went all the way through Thanksgiving, so I didn't step on a wrestling mat till December, and
Later on.
and so like it just, I mean, I wrestled from December, you know, into April, and then I'd go back to playing football. So it was just I played football more months out of the year than I wrestled in high school, and
See
I
that?
I, I think that maybe that's where the upside kind of came from, just because I was a two sport athlete. I actually loved football. I liked football more.
Me too. Me too.
I was better at it in
Me
high
too.
school.
Me
So
too.
and then all of a sudden it just, you just focus on one thing. And then I remember the first college open I went to, I went 0-2, and I was just like, what am I doing? I just the Buffalo Open. The Buffalo Open doesn't even exist anymore. You know, like I call my dad up and I'm like, Dad, this isn't for me, man. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this. And then he said the famous words that I actually, think about it a lot, even to this day. He's like, he goes, "That's your problem, son." And I was like, "Well, what's that?" And he's like, "You just said it." I'm like, "What did I?" He's like, "You don't know why you're doing it." And
For that reason.
that, yeah, you definitely gotta know why you're doing college wrestling, because it's pretty painful if it's not. So um, yeah, he said that to me after, and I was like, I'm gonna walk on to the football team at Cornell. I was like 0-2 at this sport. I'm just getting my ass kicked every day. This just isn't work. This isn't for me. And then he said that to me, and he said, you can't quit until after this year. If you still hate it, then we'll talk. So I was like, well, screw it. If I'm gonna go through, if I'm gonna have to figure this out for a year, I'm at least going out swinging. I'm
100%.
yeah,
A
and then
100%.
all of a sudden I started getting a little bit better. I was like, I'm gonna go out
Wow.
with everything I got. And I
I'd say a lot better,
yeah.
but yeah.
So, so it has been an absolute journey of a lifetime, and it was surreal watching Max walk off the mat for the last time this year, this past March, because it's just been such a huge part of our lives, and now we're going on into the real world, and I'm blessed to be able to work with my brother, now. So we're back getting after it in a different
Yeah,
way,
just in a different way. Yep, you took the
but
words out.
it's awesome. So
It is, man, and I'm glad to see you guys are back together doing it. And like I said, I remember whenever he beat Miles Martin and just them taking that camera up to you, like just you embracing him, and it's something that, as me, like I said, having two older brothers, that it really hit home on
there's like
just
winning national titles is here, like down here, and then like that moment happens, and it's just
yeah.
it's just not even close.
Yeah,
You know,
because
it's,
Miles he was smoking everybody that year, and I'll be honest, I thought he was going to walk through. I thought he was going to not walk through, but I thought he was going to beat Max, and then I thought he was going to go in. And wasn't it Parker Keckeisen or
no,
who
it was
was
Drew
it?
Drew
Drew
Foster.
Foster. Yeah, UNI. And but to be honest, whenever Max beat Miles, I was like, oh, he's gonna win. He's gonna win the NCAA's. Like, holy shit, where does he keep? But once you looked at his last name, it's like this is fair. I mean, this is what Dad did. This is what Big Brother did. Like this is where Max should be. And
Emotional roller coaster, just
whew,
that he couldn't. It was so high, and I think it just drained him, and he couldn't get himself. He just couldn't get himself right, by less than 24 hours later. He just
that's a
couldn't.
monster of a tournament. I mean, it
Yeah.
is. It's
So
that
yeah,
like to see what you've done at it is it's 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 right up there with four timers. I mean, third, first, second. I mean, you're right there with the John Smiths, the Logan Stiebers, the Kyle Dakes. You're buddy.
It'd be
You're
great. It'd be great if Penn State didn't exist. I might be a four timer.
hey, you said it. I ain't gonna. If Max wouldn't have went there, but
No, actually,
uh,
I actually really like them too. I've obviously with Max being there, I've come to know like their coaching staff a little bit, and just everybody there. And
whatever they do, it works, bro. It does. It works.
really, the secret is there's no secret. I think they're just so. The thing that I think that is that my observation is that their staff, like when you raise kids, you and your wife need to be on the same page. Like you can
Yeah.
be different. You're different personalities. That's all. Like my wife and I are completely different personalities,
Yes.
but
Mine too.
our
Mine too.
values are the same. We talk everything out. We sit down. We get through things, right? That's the way that their staff handles them. Like there's no drama. There's no like backdoor talking behind the backs or anything like that. It's very classy. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody has the same values. Everybody's trying to accomplish the same thing. And I just think that, it trickles down,
And I
to
can see that though. I went to the Ohio State Penn State match this year in Columbus, and all the Penn State guys were just sitting and on the mat, like it just like they were getting ready to start the duel, but they hadn't started yet. And Kale just comes and sits Indian style, like right there in front of you know there's 20,000 people just sitting there with his boys, and I thought it was a cool moment though, to where it was like, man, he's just sitting there on the ground with him, sitting there right on the mat, just like it was like just you would thought he was one of the wrestlers. So it was a pretty cool experience to see it. But so I can kind of, I mean, I don't know all that you guys, you've had a lot more to do with it, but I can definitely see what you're talking about for sure.
yeah, no, they're very just extremely the best at what they do, really.
Oh my God, amazing! Like it's to a point, like as it got old there for a little while, but at the end of the day, like when you're the great, because like as a wrestling fan, it's like, man, I'll take anybody. Like Cornell win it, Iowa win it, somebody win something. You know what I mean? Because like you start getting like it's like a repetitive thing, but at the same time, like, hey, when you're the best, and that's all there is to it. Like, that's
Yeah,
what
most
you can't.
yeah, the most
Yeah.
dominant dynasty in college sports right now.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It is. And whenever I walked, I mean, and I think Ohio State has a heck of a wrestling team, and they won eight of the 10 matches when we were up there, and I was just like, and I was up there like 2 weeks prior, and they wrestled Michigan State, and Ohio State won all 10. So I was like, wow, this team. Like, this is not a bad Ohio State wrestling team. Just this past season, and it was like they just got ran over. Like, just
Yeah,
it was scary how good they were at every weight. And your brother, gosh, he pinned Gavin Hoffman, I think, in the first or second, and it was like these
yeah,
boys came to wrestle, and they always do. They always do.
they always do. They always do.
But well, Gabe, I ain't gonna hold you up much longer, brother. I do. I mean, I can't thank you enough. I really, if I could, I thanked you 100 times before we got on here, and now I'm probably gonna send you 10 more emails and just thanking you for the talk, man. I really do appreciate everything, man. Taking the time, just everything that we've touched on from wrestling to the business to your brother to just everything, man. I thank you and.
It is my pleasure, man. You did a great job, and just thanks for having me on. Just I appreciate your time too.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. I definitely, I hope to, hopefully we can link up later. I would like to catch up just to see how things are going. Hopefully some of them obstacles coming your way, man, and then you can let me know that you blew right through those two.
Hey, the obstacle is the way, right? So
Yes, sir. Yes,
uh,
sir.
absolutely, man. And yeah, stay in touch and
Always.
looking forward to continue conversation. So
All right, my man. Well, you have a good night, big guy, and thanks again.
you have a good night. Tell your son I said hi.
Yes, sir. We'll do. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. You might watch this and think like, man, they didn't even talk wrestling. Like the first 45 minutes was business and about what he does. But if you really listen into it, it has so much to do with wrestling and where he's at in life is because of him being on a mat. And I think that at the end of the day, he is what every kid should want to be. Uh, just good, humble, know what they know what, and Gabe's a prime example. He taught me a lot. I mean, I'm seriously, that was awesome. It was organic, man. It was real, and I learned a lot, and hopefully y'all did too. And on to the next one. Thank you all for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let's keep this thing going. Let's keep it rolling. Thank you.